It's me. So it's the next day, and it looks like maybe my ferment made more progress than I thought it would. When I came home, it looked almost black. When I walked through the door. So you can see all the little bubbles on the top. I gave it a good stir this morning. I don't know if you can see it with this, but like all the matter is floating up here. So a lot of times when something is done to the way I like it, the things are floating on top. I did end up taking this off to just make sure it had more oxygen. And now I'm gonna test it. So I'm kind of excited. It looks like it might have worked because it does. It's darker than I'd expected, but it's very magenta-y. But again, I'm not always sure if I'm like. I'm not always sure if I'm. If I'm. It's like I so much don't want it to turn rusty of a color, because then that when it's not, I'm like, I think it's more magenta. All right. Once again, back to kava and tension tamer. Later I'll have some sleepy time. I said that I was stopping drinking, but that wasn't like totally exactly true. What I've been doing the last week, because like I said, like Monday after I was bragging about, last Monday, a week ago today, I was bragging about like, I can drink this much, that much, I'd probably had like, this is just lime and water. I like to put lime in the water in the morning, let it set all day, and it just gets a little bit hazy by the time I get home, and it's just right. Like something happens to the sourness, seems to agree with my guts more. I have gut problems, wicked bad, between nerves, coffee, smoking, just being unhealthy. Of course, I'm a painter, so all the fumes, everything. God only knows what else, Plus, the water in this town's like, well, I don't know. They keep passing out this water report that's like, here's all this poisonous shit in your water, but it's fine. But if you want to look it up, or anyway, I'd probably had this much vodka, and I was like, Ugh. So what I've been doing since Monday night, because where I'm still smoking and still drinking coffee, I gotta find a different morning routine with coffee. I'm drinking less, but I'm stimulated, and I'm always like worked up, or like, and sometimes the meditation don't work. I'm trying to get into it more, and I mean, even when I was drinking all the time, I'd still meditate and stuff. But it's like I'd be hungover all morning. I mean, I was always in this drunken process, for the last 3 years. 2 years sober before that. Before that, puffing for 20 years every day, as if I could. I might miss a day or two, and I'd be like, ugh, you know. And then recently, I've been puffing a little bit more, quite a bit more over the past month until a couple weeks ago, because a friend of mine, guy I work with, had grown some, and he gave me a shitload. And as it turns out, it was awesome, better than the stuff I was buying down in Mass. But I like it, but even that, like that haze, it keeps me cool, keeps me going to bed. But I want to, I'm 43, and I still have some life in me, A lot of times I feel like I'm dying. A lot of it's spiritual. A lot of it's physical, but I've definitely been at, I've been at death's door a few times, um, and I've stood in the door once. And you know what I mean? If you've either been at or in death's door. Someday I'll go through it. But anyway, what I've been doing is I've been taking this little thing and I've been filling it up to the little Rubbermaid thing with vodka. So this much vodka, the rest with water. And right before I go to bed, that's kind of like my Scooby snack. That's my treat. And it's just enough, especially if I haven't been eating as much. The more I eat, the less effective it is. Um, but it's just enough where I can feel it. And it's like something for my alcoholic mind, for my substance. I kind of am I'm more of a substance abuser than an alcoholic. But I've really depended on it. Have a couple hard ciders when I got home, drink vodka or a bottle of wine, a couple beers, a couple pounders. So it would be at least like a bottle of wine, a couple pounders, or a couple hard ciders. You know. So at least this kind of like subconsciously helps me. I was thinking about getting some NyQuil, but then I thought, well, that's got other stuff in it too, and I don't necessarily want to be knocked out. I'm trying to trick myself a little bit. So that's what I've done every day, shy of last Wednesday when I had the day off because it snowed so bad. I got a little ways to work, and my boss texted me and said I could stay home. So I turned around. So I was thinking about going in anyway, and then I got to a particularly bad hill. I mean, cars off the road everywhere. So I was like, screw it. I got shit to do. And as it turns out, I came home, I cleaned, I did a bunch of stuff, so that was good. Um, and then yesterday, the days off are my problem. Like for the last few years, like if it was a day off, a weekend or whatever, like 2 o'clock, I'd start drinking. I'd try to get all my shit done between like 11 and 2, go to the dump, do my laundry, whatever, go shopping, and then I try to make it a little longer, but a lot of times, like between 2 and 4, I'd start pounding. But anyway, so yesterday, what I did is I had this, and it was even smaller, and I filled the vodka up to this little S on the sell-by. So just on that little sell-by, I'd fill it up to there, and then fill the rest of this up with water, and I had like 4 of these, which doesn't even equal like one whole thing of these. And then I had one of those. It was worse, but I got a lot done yesterday. I also smoked 28 cigarettes yesterday, 26. I've been counting them. So that was bad on that. But today I had my 9th one when I got home tonight, and then I had 2 more right after it. So now I'm at 11. But I've been smoking a pack and a half a day for, I don't know, since I was like 18. And when I could afford them. When I was younger, I couldn't always. So, but as soon as I could afford them, that was it. Of course, back then, a couple few bucks. But and then over the last couple months, it's been more like 2 packs a day. So it's better. It's better. It's a struggle. Anyway. So what I'm going to do is, I was looking for my turkey baster and I only found the top part, and I thought maybe I'll make something, and then I just thought, well, I'll just use a straw. So let's see here. So I'll try to get it down below all the stuff. I don't know, I guess there's stuff down there too, but Oh, maybe that's just the bubbles. You know? Give it a shot. Yeah, maybe it's not more magenta-y. In case it's not, what I'll do is these are old CBD joints. I used to buy down at the store down the street, tubes. Way overpriced. I'll put one in here, and that way if it's not quite right, tomorrow when I test it, I'll know. If it's a different color, so I'll put this in the refrigerator, and then I can test between the colors. It's as scientific as I can be. Also, one of the things that I remembered, because I was like, man, this is awfully thick, I remembered, because it's been so long, like I said, it's mostly off the top of my head. A lot of times what I do on the second day, sometimes on the first when I made this, is because it's so thick, I'd actually separate it into like 2 or 3 jars and add more water, because I'm more interested in the essence than the juice, and I don't want the material. I strain it afterwards and so on. Whoops. Ooh. I don't know, looks pretty magenta-y, but maybe it is just regular old beet color. I'll have to find a way to be more scientific. Moment of truth. It has that salty flavor. Now I have to decide if I want to water it down or just filter it as it is. I'm not sure if I can find my regular juicer attachment that would filter out all this stuff and just run it back through my juicer, but it has that salty flavor. I think maybe it happened faster. It's so weird, man. Like, if I would have tried this yesterday, it wouldn't have tasted like salt at all. But it has that salt substitute kind of taste. But it happened naturally on its own from the stuff that's in here. It's amazing. But anyway, I think it might have happened faster even though it's winter. One of 3 factors. One, because I let the spelt and the garbanzo beans go so much further. There's none of the cheddar-y taste. Like if I would have drank that solution yesterday, it would have tasted like cheddar water. It has none of that cheddar-y taste. It's sweet. The earthiness is killed. The earthiness of the beets has been tamed down. Like I can't taste it really at all. It tastes salty. You can taste the ginger. As it turns out, I added just the right amount of ginger. See, here's the thing, like how long would I let it go if it got just a little bit more of that saltiness? And why I want that is because I want to find a natural way, like if I could get like quote unquote salts. I'm interested in fermentation and I'm interested in aerobic and anaerobic fermentation. And I'm very, very interested in making like a vegan cheese, like the real deal, like a real cheese, like a real vegan cheese, not like chemical process, all this stuff, like a cheese, you know. But I'm very suspicious of lacto. I don't know why. I know it's like an important part of the gut, this, that, whatever, but there's so many different types of acids, and it's kind of like if you smell your feet, right? I know I've talked about this before, but this is, I don't know why this is a huge interest to me. Like, really, I'm interested in like, wow, and like God, and like, and when I say that, I guess I also mean like the mystery. Not just God, but the mystery, the real thing. You know, alchemy, all that stuff, but always with the principle that there's a highest principle, always. And that we are active agents of that highest principle. And the idea that the active principle acts in harmonics with free will, so that basically from the alpha to the omega, you're going to get a shape. Say it's a vesica Pisces, say it's a teardrop, say it's a whatever. It's always going to have that shape. Our free will determine, and that shape, let's say there's a boundary. There's not, but there isn't, but say there's a boundary, God on this side, God's creation on this side, all of us. However you want to say it, Big Bang, whatever. Consciousness, I prefer awareness, but as that reaches in, the am I am. Am I? As God answers that question for God's self, what we do here helps God reach into God, helps us answer that question for ourselves. Who is God? Who am I? Where did I come from? The bigger that shape is, the more complete our answer. So it will always be that shape. It will always collapse, so to speak. But our free will and the way we act upon that determines the size of that. But it's exponential. The boundary would be, say, 1. Or, you know, n to the 0, 1. And then inside would be fractional exponents. Outside would be whole number exponents. So if this is going to happen anyway, we're talking about like n to the half, n to n squared. But if we exert ourselves more, then we might get n to the third, n cubed, and so on. And who knows what the actual, like, n, like what other coefficient might be applied to those. But anyway, putting that aside, I like thinking about cheese and food. And I'm really interested in the vegan cheese, and I feel like somewhere between like eggplant, garbanzo beans. I feel like there's something else that was very cheesy. They say that young milkweed pods make a very mozzarella. If you ferment young milkweed pods, the insides, what turns into the fibers. But if you get them young and ferment them, supposedly that's a very mozzarella-like thing. But milkweed's funky, man. And the only thing I've tried fermenting milkweed, whew, yeah, it's just. But who knows? But I will say that but also, never mind. What if you did ferment the latex, lactose, latex? What if you did ferment the latex in milkweed or in sumac, wild sumac, you know, just the right way, then it turned into an awesome cheese. But anyway, because cheese is sweet and salty usually, sometimes bitter, different flavors, you know, usually lactic, and then there's like brie, which is ammoniated. But I'm looking for some sort of brine to soak whatever my substance is before I squash it. There's a zillion ways to make a cheese. A million zillion. I've said it before too, like if you want to go into outer space, like study the stars, like, I don't know, yeast. Yeast is this vast, unexplored territory of the world right here. We're talking about getting off the planet, colonizing this, that, whatever. Meanwhile, there's uncountable species of yeasts that we have no idea about that do amazing things and break things down. It's living chemistry, you know? despite all our science, like there's certain things if you Google, they say, oh, you can have everything at your fingertips. There's a lot. Thank God for that at our fingertips. But there are vast, like Fengodidae wasps. Not as much information as I'd like on them. And definitely yeasts, bacteria, all that kind of stuff. And also what I like about this is that it's a fresh ferment one day. But I'm interested in the idea of, because ferments can generate peroxides, hydrogen peroxides, and maybe other peroxides. And I'm interested in that as bubbles versus carbon dioxide. And I mean, carbon dioxide is what we want to get out of our body. Why would we put it in, you know? And then the other thing is, of course, you know, like they put nitrogen. Who knows what kind of gases, what kind of yeast, what kind of bacteria, what kind of mixtures, what kind of substances can put in. Never mind the fact that they're digesting all those micronutrients and so on. One thing I've never done with this is after I've gotten it to this stage, which is only one day, but it really, I mean, it has that salty flavor. Awesome. Is I've never then capped it off when it was at the right point and then let it go through an anaerobic fermentation. Usually I'm not patient enough. Now that I've committed it to video, maybe that will give me the impetus, because I don't know, when we follow our interests, like other things happen. Like even if this has nothing to do with like my life purpose, following it because I love it is gonna lead me somewhere. It did before. And then I got my ass kicked by the truth, or by a greater truth. I wouldn't dare say the truth. You know. Whenever I've peeked around the corner at the truth, it has blown me away. But progressively, I mean, I'm still here. Can't believe it. Try one more little thing. So yeah, I guess probably what I'll do, in the spirit of experimentation, I think I'll drain this, strain it, squash it, whatever, get all the juice out, set that aside, re-soak this material, see what happens. And then with that other material, I'll probably separate at least a little bit of it off, maybe give it another day, just see what happens, and then maybe do a very small jar fermentation and let it set. I'm wicked impatient, so if I could even let it set for like a week, it would be a miracle, you know. But maybe if I do this type of, now that I have replicated the success from memory after all these years, you know. Also, I want to maybe start eliminating a couple of the ingredients just to see where am I getting that salt from, and also see how it affects my bowels, because I don't know, you know. And so success on stage 1 of the experiment. Stage 2 will be if I feel a relief in my bowels after a day or two. And usually I don't drink that much of it, except for one time I made a huge batch. I mean, it was all over my counter downstairs. I had like every ball jar I had full of the stuff, and then I drank a lot. But you know, maybe half a cup like that. Very pleased after one day. I do think I can squeeze just a little bit more of that saltiness out of it if I let it set for a little while. The thing is like it might be perfect tomorrow morning and I might be a rush to get out the door like I am every day, to get to work late like I do every day. And by the time I get home, it might be funk. But if I separate off some of the good stuff now, refrigerate it, so on, do what I said I do. But the big thing is that I've replicated it, and maybe now I can start refining it, but maybe not too. I always say I'm going to do this or going to do that, and there's like a million interesting things. So, but I'm really glad I did this because it at least symbolizes my return to the idea of the body as an aspect of health. I mean, it's like my eureka moment, you know. and try to get past just getting through the day, and but also trying to recognize that it could all be taken away, really, any day. And to be prepared, for that too, be willing to let it go. But what I like is that if I'm still here and I don't have anything anymore, I'll still know how to make this if I can get the stuff. Hope you're having a good day.